Good morning, dear children. Again, I welcome you all to our new lecture of inheritance and variation. We have previously seen this topic. For the last 3 lectures, I have been talking to you about inheritance and variation. Inheritance, anuvanshikta. What is inherited? We have seen the definition of inheritance. We have seen when genetic information is transferred from one generation to another generation, we call it as heredity or inheriting a character or inheritance. Then what is variation? Variation, I gave you an example regarding it, that variation is nothing but the change that occurs in the offspring of the same parents. To begin with the topic and to look at it, we first saw it was Gregor John Mendel who worked on inheritance. Gregor Mendel was a teacher by profession. He was a gardener. He selected pea plant and took 7 traits, 7 characters independently to study the inheritance of that plant. We have seen those that chart in which the 7 characters which he took for studying. After that, he performed experiments. Performing the experiment, he came to a conclusion there is a factor which is transmitted from one generation to the another. Mendel's work was very much before ahead of time. And that's why he was calling it as a factor. The factor which he mentioned in his work is nothing but gene, a hereditary material which is transferred from one generation to another generation. To study this, he performed several experiments using Pisum sativum. Pisum sativum is the botanical name of pea plant. We saw that he performed many experiments, collected the data, analyzed it, and after the analysis of data, he mentioned some genetic terminologies. He could give us some principles, some laws of inheritance which we have accepted, and now we can see that just because of his work that time, genetics has become a subject. It has got its existence just because of the father of modern genetics, Gregor John Mendel. Looking at all this, we have seen many different characters, different terminology especially, which he has taught us. In the very first experiment, he took 2 different plants. One plant was a tall plant, while the other one was a recessive one. These plants, the characteristic feature of a pea plant is it has a bisexual flower and it performs self-pollination. Here, with the help of hybridization technique at that time, he cross-pollinated the plant. Cross-pollinated the plant, he transferred the anthers of one flower on the other stigma and the anthers of the other flower on this stigma. One plant was a tall plant, the other one was a dwarf plant. When the crossing over took place, what was observed in F1 hybrid was the plant was showing one character of height, that was tall. The plant was tall, but what about the second character which was transmitted to it? It was suppressed. The one which we could see or which was expressed is called as a dominant character, while the one which did not express itself is nothing but the recessive character. Using this very first experiment, the very first law of Mendel came into existence. Law of dominance. First, he took the character height. Second time, he took the color of the flower. he took a violet color flower plant and crossed it with a plant which had white color flowers. When the crossing over took place, he found out that there were violet color flowers in the F1 generation. When he saw this, what happened to the white ones? He saw the trait was present, but it was suppressed. It was not allowed to express itself. This study, this experimentation was done by Mendel for all the 7 characters that he took to study. Whether it was height, whether it was color of the flower, whether it was pod structure, pod color, seed texture, and whether the flower is axial or whether it is a terminal flower. The 7 characters which he studied, in every case he performed the experiment and he found out that the F1 generation was giving this result. And that's why he mentioned it in law of dominance. When 2 homozygous individuals with one or more set of contrasting characters are crossed, the alleles that appear in F1 are dominant and those which do not appear in F1 are recessive. For the first time when he studied, he took 1 character. Second time, he took more sets of contrasting character, which we see in a dihybrid ratio. In monohybrid ratio, we see he took only 1 character of tallness, or in other case he took only the color of the flower or the color of the seed coat. But in dihybrid we can see he took set of contrasting characters, 1 or more set of contrasting characters, yellow round, green wrinkled. 4 characters are there, 4 different characters. And in every situation he saw that the F1 was showing something only with a single character. That single one is dominant one and the other which was not expressed but was present is the recessive one. And so came into existence the law of dominance. From the textbook, read what exactly is law of dominance and thoroughly learn it. Learn the definition. Learn the law properly. What is it saying? When 2 homozygous individuals with 1 or more set of contrasting characters are crossed with each other, the alleles that appear in F1 are dominant to those which do not appear in F1 generation are recessive. The second law, because of this crossing over only, because of studying the monohybrid and the dihybrid ratio, this law came into existence, which says that law of segregation or law of purity of gametes states that when hybrid F1 forms gametes, when hybrid F1 is crossed with itself, it forms gametes. The alleles segregate from each other and enter in different gametes. They are separating from each other independently without mixing. The tall trait is going to one side, the dwarf trait is going to the other side. They are not coming with a mixture. They are separating independent of each other. This is law of purity of gametes. That's the reason why the gametes formed are pure, in that they carry only 1 allele. Either the dominant allele is carried or the recessive allele is carried. It is not a mixture. Single allele is separated. This is called segregation. The segregation is independent. That's why the purity of gamete remains over there. The third law is the law of independent assortment. The law states that when hybrid possessing 2 or more pair of contrasting characters form gametes, the factor in each pair segregate independently of each other's pair. It is the same as law of segregation. What are they saying? The law states that when hybrid possessing 2 or more pairs of contrasting factors or alleles, they form gametes. the factor in each pair separates independently of the other pair. They are separating independently. I gave you an example of the color combination. When white is mixed with red, we get pink color. But here it's not like that. Or when white is mixed with purple, even that time you get a little bit of pink pinch in it. But in this case it is not like that. It is either white or violet. It is either tall or dwarf. It is either yellow seed coat or green seed coat. There is no mixing of the factors, and that's why these three laws are the basic explanation of what Mendel got to study from monohybrid and dihybrid ratio. First is the law of dominance, second is the law of segregation, and third is the law of independent assortment. Law of independent assortment is always asked in exam with explanation. At that time, the dihybrid cross with the dihybrid phenotypic and genotypic ratio are to be explained if it is a broad question. Law of dominance is generally asked for 1 mark. Law of segregation is asked for 1 mark or 2 marks. Even in that case, you have to show law of purity of gametes with the help of dihybrid ratio. For law of dominance, you always have to show monohybrid cross. In that, you can see what exactly is dominant and what exactly is recessive. I hope you got this. For law of dominance, monohybrid ratio or monohybrid cross. Law of segregation and law of independent assortment, dihybrid cross or dihybrid ratio is to be shown. These questions are asked in board, so please go through it. After this, we switch on to the next thing which he studied, and that was back cross and test cross. Back cross. The F1 individual obtained in a cross are usually self to get the F2 progeny. They can also be crossed with one of the two parents from which they were derived, either recessive or dominant. Such a cross is known as back cross. What is a back cross? You are crossing it back again. With whom? With the parent. Which parent? Either the parent may be recessive or it may be dominant. This is the characteristic feature of a back cross. But in test cross, it is a bit different. It is always crossed with the homozygous recessive parent. Here in back cross, you cross the plant, you cross the F1 either with dominant parent or recessive parent. But in test cross, you will always cross with a recessive parent only. This is a test cross. Now, there is a question which is asked in board exam every year. A back cross is a test cross, but a test cross is not a back cross. The reason is a back cross is nothing but crossing over back with the parents. It may be either the dominant parent or the recessive parent. But test cross, we cross with only homozygous recessive parent and not with the dominant parent. That's why we can say that the back cross is a test cross, but a test cross is not a back cross. Next thing to see about test cross. What is the benefit of test cross? Test cross can be used to find out genotype of any plant with dominant expression. But it is not known whether it is homozygous pure or heterozygous for that trait. For example, a pea plant having violet flower is crossed with a pea plant with white flower. If all flowers produced are violet, we can conclude that the plant is pure or homozygous. And if we get violet and white in the ratio 1:1, we can conclude that the plant is heterozygous. Test cross is also used to introduce useful recessive traits in the hybrid of self-pollinated plant during rapid crop improvement programs. This is a chart which shows about the graphical representation of a test cross. Mendel did lot of work. he found out the basic things which are used by us in today's life. We got to know gene very well. We know there is something in heredity. But for every conclusion, what he made was not accepted. There were some bifurcations. There were some deflections, some deviations. Few generalizations were arrived at by Mendel on the basis of his experiment of garden pea plant, such as one single trait, single gene, and two alleles. Two alleles show interaction in which one is completely dominant. Factors for different traits present on different chromosomes are sought independently. With the passage of time, number of deviations were observed, identified in the post-Mendelian era, that gave additional information on the pattern of inheritance. These deviations are then described as neo-Mendelism. Mendel said that either the allele is expressed or not expressed. Both are present. One expresses itself and the other doesn't. The one which expresses is dominant. The other which doesn't express is a recessive one. But giving you a very good example of a plant called Mirabilis jalapa. Or we can say there are some small plants like office thyme. When the crossing over takes place in them, you get to see a fusion of both the colors. Here the gametes are mixing and being passed. Independent assortment is not there. This was a deviation from Mendelian genetics. Both the characters are expressed in 50-50%. This is a deviation from Mendelian genetics. Mixing of gametes is taking place. This is a deviation of Mendelian genetics, from the Mendelian genetics. That means as the time passed, the post-Mendelian era came and neo-Mendelism came into existence. Mendel gave a good collection of work, but there were some deviations, there were some bifurcations which were seen. When this was seen, different things, different structures were studied. The gene interaction was studied. How was the gene interaction? It was either intragenic or intergenic. Now what is intragenic and what is intergenic? We'll see that. Intragenic interaction, it occurs between the alleles of same genes. If the genes are same, the interaction is between them. Example, incomplete dominance and codominance. It also occurs between the multiple allele series of a gene. Incomplete dominance and codominance. The word itself gives us an idea. Something is dominant but it has come up incompletely. When I gave you an example of color, mixing of color, white and red, I get a fusion of these two as pink. Incomplete dominance. The pink is giving a tilt. It is showing that I am present. But even the recessive of white is there. That's why it is incomplete dominance. Codominance. Both are there in coordination or in cooperation with each other. One is dominant and other is recessive. We can't say that. Dominant character can be seen, but even recessive is there. It is not lost. This is seen in intragenic interaction. Now intergenic, non-allelic, when the alleles are different, occurs between the alleles of different genes present on the same or different chromosome. Example, pleiotropy, polygene, epistatis, supplementary and complementary gene, etc. Incomplete dominance. We'll just pay an attention to what exactly incomplete dominance is. In the incomplete dominance, both the alleles, genes of an allelomorphic pair express themselves partially. One allele cannot suppress the expression of the other. In the first we saw tall was expressed, dwarf was suppressed. Here it is not like that. We will see the example and you will understand what exactly is incomplete dominance. A well-known example is the flower of Mirabilis jalapa. If a red flower plant is crossed with a white flowered plant, the F1 offspring is pink. How is the F1 offspring? Pink in color. That means white is also existing and red is also existing in 50-50% in the F1 hybrid. They are not suppressing each other. They are allowing both the things to express in 50-50%. This is incomplete dominance. Codominance. In codominance, both the alleles of an allelomorphic pair express themselves equally. कसं आहे? इक्वल आहे. जसं इनकम्प्लीट डॉमिनन्समध्ये तसंच इथं आहे, पण इथं कसं आहे एक्झॅक्ट 50% आहे आणि तिकडं कसं आहे थोडंसं रेडची टिल्ट जास्त असल्यामुळं कलर पिंक येतो. कोणी कोणाला सप्रेस करत नाही इनकम्प्लीट डॉमिनन्स. इन इनकम्प्लीट डॉमिनन्स नोबडी इज सप्रेसिंग एनीवन. दे आर कमिंग अप equally but incompletely, not completely. Codominance, it is the same. Equally independent in hybrid are called codominant alleles. Thus in codominance both alleles are expressed. Classic example of codominance is coat color in cattle. There are two types. One is red coat, that is red color hair cattle, and the other is white color. When the crossing over takes place, we get F1 hybrid as a roan. What is a roan? In which you will see either the background of the hair is white and there are red color patches, or it is ulta. Red color is at the background and white color patches can be seen. Roans have the mixture of red and white color hair. Thus both the traits are expressed equally in 50% in F2 generation. This is codominance. The genotypic and the phenotypic ratios are identical. But in incomplete dominance, if we see over here, the genotypic ratio over here is 1:2:1. 1 is red, 2 are pink and 1 is white. It is not 50% or this and 50% that. It is totally different. 1:2:1 is the ratio. What is the ratio? That's why we call it as an incomplete dominance. And here in codominance we get to see exact genotypic ratio and phenotypic ratio same, 50-50%. That's why it is codominance. I hope you understood this. In the next part of this topic we will be looking at the other part, that is intragenic example. This is about the codominance. After that, in the next part we will be seeing what are multiple alleles, what is pleiotropy, and we will see the examples of this. And with that, in the coming week we will be completing the chapter as early as possible. Once the chapter is completed, I will be providing you with the PDF which has notes. Go through it, read the lesson from the textbook and study well. Prepare the lesson well. The syllabus is reduced. I will be putting up a PDF in which you will understand how much syllabus is reduced for you. Go through it. Don't do those topics. Those which are kept, continue with that. Study well, and whatever is given in the PPT, write it down in a notebook. Write down the question answers from your textbook, form them, find the answers. If you cannot, ask me. Thank you very much.